Is drinking raw milk safe like RFK Jr. suggests? Can you reduce a glucose spike if you eat your food in, quote unquote, the right order? I'm registered dietitian Abby Sharp. I host a nutrition myth-busting podcast called Bite Back with Abby Sharp. And those are just some of the questions I tackle with qualified experts on my show. There is so much food misinformation and disinformation out there, and it can feel impossible to know what's real and what's BS. On Bite Back, my goal is to help listeners create a pleasurable relationship with food, their body, and themselves, which in my opinion is the fundamental secret to good health. Listen to Bite Back wherever you get your podcasts.
If you are a regular listener to this show, thank you very much for that. Heck, even if you're just stopping by, you're welcome to. And we are grateful for your ears, but regular listeners probably knew because they heard This Week in Music History, which we do every Monday morning at 11 a.m. here on the show, that this was the week during which Prince and The Revolution released their 6th studio album called Purple Rain, also the soundtrack to the film of the same name, and the first 2 singles from Prince and the Revolution's Purple Rain album went to number 1, including that one right there, When Doves Cry. And that is how we begin this show. By the way, that was back in 1984. That's 41 years ago today, this 25th of June, 2025. Good Wednesday morning. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. Remember that you are an integral part of this show. The minute we begin every day, our phone lines are open, and we welcome your feedback and the conversations that you're interested in engaging in with us. 519-570-2545, star 570, and 1-800-570-5715. Email address is mike@570news.com, and you'll also find us on social media. My X feed is @Farwell_WR, and it's exactly the same thing on Instagram. Just curious, has anyone checked in with our local MPPs who are representatives of the sitting Progressive Conservative government? I know they're not sitting right now because it's summer break until like October or something, but has anybody checked in with Jess Dixon in Kitchener South Hespeler, Brian Riddell in Cambridge, or that fella over there in Kitchener-Conestoga? Anybody checked in with those MPPs and asked them why they don't care about renters in this province? Just out of curiosity, are you only welcome in the big Progressive Conservative tent if you own a home? Because those MPPs, and I think it's important, again, just to emphasize, they ought to be named. We can't just say the province isn't doing its job. We should name the people within that provincial government who are not doing their jobs when it comes to supporting people in this community who, at times, have to deal with unscrupulous landlords who renovate under the guise of kicking them out of the apartment and getting more money with a new rental. This is not every landlord that does this, but this does happen. And tenants have been appealing to our municipal councils who are doing something about it, but it's not the municipal council's job to do. So since nobody in politics will name names, we will name the names of Jess Dixon, Brian Riddell, and the representative for Kitchener-Conestoga who need to do their jobs and allow the municipalities off the hook here, because I'm tired of watching our cities pick up the slack for other levels of government that are not doing their jobs.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
All right, let's get to that Farwell Show 5 for this Wednesday morning. Number 1, hey, we're getting some money back, baby. The region has reached a settlement with Broccolini, the developer that built the Amazon distribution center in Cambridge. The region realized after the fact that it had underbilled Broccolini by almost $14 million for development charges and sent a new bill to recover it. While Broccolini balked, the two sides have reached an out-of-court settlement that will see the region recover just over $10 million of those underbilled dollars, or 75%. Number 2, Woolwich Township will not be banning fireworks. Councillor Nathan Cadeau lobbying at last night's meeting for Woolwich to follow the lead of Wilmot and North Dumfries townships.
So I think the motion on the floor from the mover is to direct staff to amend the fireworks bylaw to remove the fireworks ban. If a ban wasn't put in place, that some additional education and training for the firework vendors, was that something that council would support? I think we can do that likely for the August meeting if that's what council would like.
Any further comments before I call the question on this then? None? Then I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That would still be carried 3-2.
Way to go, Cadeau, in Woolwich Township. So our townships, well, I should point out, in Wellesley, council there voted to restrict the sale of fireworks to bricks and mortar locations only. And so in the townships, that just means in Wellesley, they're going to avoid the pop-up sales that happen. So in our townships, you can buy and use fireworks. In our cities, Kitchener and Waterloo have banned their sale, fireworks, beginning in 2026. And Cambridge is waffling, but I suspect it'll go the same direction as the other cities have. Anyway, that's where we're at in the region. Kind of makes you want to move to the country, doesn't it? Number 3 on your Farwell Show 5 this morning, the KW Symphony made a triumphant return last night to Centre in the Square, launching its new season called Resurrection. The new season will feature a total of 17 performances in venues around the region, including 3 more special concerts at Centre in the Square. Number 4, NATO leaders gathered in the Netherlands and will decide today whether to more than double the alliance's defense spending target from 2% of GDP to 5%. That would include 3.5% on core defense needs like jets and weapons. Prime Minister Mark Carney only recently committed Canada to meeting the 2% target and is now preparing to sign on to the heightened target. That 5% of our GDP would amount to about $150 billion. And number 5 on your Farwell Show 5 this morning, has Don Cherry done his last podcast?
Well, Tim, this is our last show.
Yep. How many podcasts have we done?
I don't know.
This is our 313th.
313th.
Yeah, we've had 6.5 million downloads, which is pretty good.
That's an awful lot. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and toodaloo.
Toodaloo. Famous Don Cherry phrasing. The internet went crazy yesterday with word of that, quote, last show. But Cherry tells the Toronto Sun it was only the last show of the season. Now, Cherry's son, Tim, who hosts the podcast with him, says there are no formal plans for a return to podcasting in the fall. Don Cherry, by the way, is 91 years young. We're going to take a break. When we come back, your morning wake-up call. Finally, I woke up. There was a lot of money to count, but we have arrived at our fundraising total for our 12th annual Farwell for Hire fundraising campaign for cystic fibrosis research. I will share that total with you coming up on the Mike Farwell Show this morning. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. I know that I am way behind on getting around to this, and I'm very sorry for that. I had hoped that by the end of last week, I would have a total to share with you from our 12th annual Farwell for Hire fundraising campaign in support of cystic fibrosis research. But the time it got away from us a little bit. We've had a very busy June. I shared with you on the show yesterday that I had the privilege of being a part of the KW Accessibility Golf Tournament fundraiser on Monday out at Galt Country Club. And they surprised me by donating a portion of their own fundraising back to us for our Farwell for Hire campaign. So we were able to add another $1,000 to our fundraising total this year. And I'm still trying to figure out exactly how we ended up at a number like this, although I think I should be accustomed by now to the generosity that you have continually shown to this campaign. You always wonder if you go back into the community and you try to do it again, are you going to be successful? And some way, somehow, in this, our 12th year of fundraising for cystic fibrosis research, we had the largest 50-50 raffle we've ever had in our campaign's history. A total of over $121,000 awarded to the winner and to cystic fibrosis. And on top of that, we were able to add another $110,000 plus in community fundraising for a grand total in this year's Farwell for Hire fundraiser of $233,334. I should have had a drum roll or something. I don't know, but $233,334 for cystic fibrosis research, for improving the lives of people in this community who today are still living with this terrible disease. As you know, this fundraising campaign was begun in honor of two of my sisters who passed away from cystic fibrosis. When they passed away more than 30 years ago now, average life expectancy for somebody with cystic fibrosis was 24 years. We have now gone beyond 50 years as a median life expectancy for somebody with cystic fibrosis. And money like this that goes into research, the very best of which is happening right here in Canada, will continue to improve those outcomes. There's a partnership right now between Cystic Fibrosis Canada and our University of Guelph, where they are working on, thanks to research money for fundraised money for research, they're working on new treatments right now to improve the lives of people with cystic fibrosis. That's right here in our own community at the University of Guelph. So we are so incredibly grateful to you. Only one time in our past have we raised more than $200,000 in a campaign, and that was back in COVID times when we ran the campaign for 2 months. But anyway, this is the second time we've gone over 200,000, and the most we have ever raised. 12 years in, when you're wondering, do you keep trying? Do you do it again? And, well, we did it again, and so did you. A record campaign total of $233,334. Thank you never seems like enough, but it's about all I got. And I promise, I'll be there for you. Anything you need, I got you. But thank you for having us in this again, so we could set a record fundraising total for our 12th annual campaign. It really means a lot to us. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Just ahead of our update in the 570 News Center, let's go to the phones. As you know, we love hearing from you on the program. Dorsey, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Farwell. I just wanted, it's Dorsey McCabe, and my sister Patricia, who knows your parents, we're just here today. And I just wanted to say congrats, and she's a Steelers fan. Anyway, I just wanted to call and say thank you so much for all you do for the community, Mike, and thank you and congratulations for the tremendous amount of work that you do for cystic fibrosis. It's a real tribute to your family, your sisters, and to the community. So just wanted to give you a shout out on air. I know you're a humble guy, but you do so much, and it really makes such a big difference. So thank you and congratulations.
You're lucky I didn't hang up on you, Mayor McCabe. That is exceedingly kind of you to take the time to do that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, I just heard your announcement, so I thought I should call and just. You always bring the wow factor, Mike.
Well, you would know as well as anyone, given your work in this community, current and past, but I don't know, find me another place, Mayor McCabe, where something like this actually works and people embrace it the way this region has embraced our fundraising campaign. Well,
it's true, and we do have a really generous community, and people respond. But it takes someone to be that leader, Mike, and to rally them, and that's what you've been doing for 12 years or more, just on the cystic fibrosis piece. But we know you're involved in supporting a whole lot of other charities and nonprofits and other causes. So just take the thank you, Mike, and congratulations.
I will with gratitude. Thank you for that. Okay. And did you say your sister's a Steelers fan too?
Yes.
Oh, man.
I just happen to be with my sister right now.
Well,
she's a Steelers fan.
Go black, go gold. I hope she and I can get through the season with our goofy quarterback. And I want to get her some of those stories about my family from her sometime.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
She'd be happy to have a beer on your deck and tell you about what she knows about your family.
I love it. Thank you, Mayor McCabe.
Thank you, Mike.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye now. Dorothy McCabe, the mayor of Waterloo, making an unnecessary but appreciated phone call this morning. It just serves as a reminder. I've mentioned this to you before, and I don't do it to try to, puff out our chest here at the radio station or for the folks that work on this show, but just to remind you, this is I like to think of it anyway, as a kind of community gathering place where we come together, we share ideas. Yeah, we complain. There are things that we would like to see done differently or fixed in a manner that makes more sense to us or whatever the case may be. But we are always open for conversation. And as we're having these conversations, there are folks who hold the lever of power in this community that have an opportunity to maybe take some action on some of the things that we're talking about, listening in on these conversations. And there's an example of it right there. We were talking about our record-setting fundraising total of more than $233,000 in the Farwell for Hire fundraising campaign this spring, the past couple of months. And Mayor McCabe was listening in and wanted to extend her congratulations, which, again, we are very grateful for. All right, let's get you to the news center for that aforementioned update. And then, has it been hot enough for you? How hot has it been for the kids and the adults in our schools this week? We'll talk about it coming up on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio. I don't think I need to tell you that it's been pretty darn hot this week, hasn't it? And I am that guy, I'm sorry, but I am, who really enjoys the heat. Yes, this heat was on the extreme side, but I always remember those days in January and February where I am practically begging for weather like we have had. And so I've been enjoying every moment of this. But we also know when the temperature reaches extremes on either side of that freezing mark on the thermometer, it can create some hardship. And certainly that is the case for some schools in the province of Ontario that, of course, are not equipped with air conditioning. Jeff Pellick is the president of the Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario, Waterloo Region Chapter, joins us for a conversation. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning, Mike.
How have our schools and the people within them been faring these last many days?
It's been a rough couple of days for a lot of folks out there. The classrooms are hot, and I think I also enjoy the heat, Mike. I quite enjoy it. However, I enjoy heat when I'm able to sit by the pool outdoors and have a drink in my hand and just enjoy a nice breeze. But unfortunately, a lot of these classrooms, there's not good air circulation, and you're in there with 30 students sometimes, and sometimes those students can get quite smelly, and it's quite a space to be working a day in and day out.
What could we do to improve conditions?
Well, I think we need to take a look at installing air conditioning in a lot of schools. We still don't have AC in a lot of places within our school board. And I think we also need to make sure that we're doing appropriate maintenance on the equipment that there is, because we've been hearing from a lot of folks over the last couple of days where their schools are built with air conditioning. And then if the AC goes down, what do we do in those cases? Because, again, the school wasn't built for windows to be open all the time and a cross breeze to be going through. And really, they've been relying on the HVAC system. And when that goes down, what do we do? And I think the other challenge that a lot of people aren't realizing is, as school boards are facing budget constraints, one of the places they're looking at saving money is through air conditioning. And so the temperatures of schools have been going up because they've been increasing the temperature to decrease the amount spent, which makes sense, but again, creates the challenge that the rooms are quite hot even in air-conditioned buildings.
Given the financial challenges that our boards face, and we've talked about this before, obviously, Jeff, but could we even feasibly go about installing air conditioning in every school that does not have it?
Well, it was yesterday, I believe, that the government came out and was blaming school boards for not having AC in all buildings, and which is kind of humorous because the money comes from the government. And I think, is it feasible at this point? Absolutely not. And particularly when we're expected to do more with less, and the amount of increases that the government are giving to school boards are not matching inflation. And so I think the government needs to step up here. I think there needs to be some further investments to take a look at how we can get better AC in some of these schools, because let's be honest, when you're looking at the humidex like it is, it's less about the heat, it's more about the humidex. Learning is not going to happen when it's this hot.
If you'll forgive me for taking a trip down memory lane, I do remember back in the day, Jeff, we would have days like this when I was in school, and we would go out to the front where there was a tree that we could get some shade under and have a little lesson there or something like that. Teachers, got creative, I guess. Is that flexibility still possible?
Yes, and we walked uphill both ways to school. I understand, Mike. Yeah, absolutely, it still is flexible, and teachers are being as creative as possible. But I think what we live in a very regulated profession nowadays, and there is a board procedure related to sun and shade and extreme temperatures, and so there are some restrictions as far as the ability to go outside. And if there's not enough shade on the schoolyard, oftentimes the decision is made because of the fact that there is no shade, that they can't go outside either. And so folks are stuck in a building. It's quite comical to watch what happens in schools this time of year, where people are running around, closing blinds, opening windows, closing windows, depending on where the sun is landing. You'll see schools, classrooms with multiple fans trying to keep the air circulating. And sometimes we are just stuck in the classroom because there's just not enough shade on the schoolyard. I
feel sometimes like we're stuck in this cycle, Jeff, when it comes to issues that we've identified on the ground, let's say, in our classrooms, and the response from the provincial education ministry. You mentioned a moment ago that the news yesterday was that it's the school board's fault for not getting the air conditioning into the schools. And of course, we've been hearing that the classrooms are underfunded as it is. Do you see a way to reconcile this?
Absolutely. I think we need to take a look at what's needed to run our schools. And again, schools are becoming more complex. The students are more complex, and in a lot of cases, we're dealing with increased number of students who present in a way that they need AC, where they may have sensory issues, and if it gets too hot or if it gets too cold, their behavior will change. We have students and staff who are medically fragile. All deserve a right to be at the school, to be in the building, and if that's the case, then we need to make sure that they are safe for them.
Jeff, always appreciate the time you make for us on the show. Thanks again.
Anytime, Mike.
Jeff Pellick is the president of the Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario, Waterloo Region chapter. Shares with us some of the concerns that have emerged this week. The plus side, obviously, no pun intended, given how far above zero we are on the plus side of the thermometer. But the plus side is we are into the final days of this academic year. It's cooler today already than it has been the past couple of days. And to just go back to being in the final school days of this academic year, not a whole lot of learning / new learning tends to happen. Here's where I think we have an opportunity to compromise or find a middle ground. What about a room-sized air conditioner, like a window air conditioning unit, some kind of air conditioning system for the library, the gymnasium, the auditorium, if that's the case. Something. If a school building does not have air conditioning, can we identify a room or rooms, 1, 2, maybe 3, I don't know, but where we could install air conditioning so that you have a cooling center within the school building itself? And for those that do struggle, sensory issues, whatever the concern may be, they can congregate in that air-conditioned space and do their learning there. Might that be a way to go? Or, not to put too fine a point on it, are we making mountains out of molehills here? We've been getting hot, steamy summer days since as long as I can remember. And as I said, we had the ability back then to go outside and have a little classroom session under the tree right there on East Avenue on the front lawn of St. Anne's Elementary School in Kitchener. That's what we did. What are your thoughts on overheating schools? 519-570-2545, star 570, 1-800-570-5715. Your thoughts always welcome on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
I think the other challenge a lot of people aren't realizing is as school boards are facing budget constraints, one of the places they're looking at saving money is through air conditioning. And so the temperatures of schools have been going up because they've been increasing the temperature to decrease the amount spent, which makes sense, but again, creates the challenge that the rooms are quite hot even in air-conditioned buildings.
Jeff Pellick is the president of the Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario, Waterloo Region Chapter, joins us this morning to talk about the challenges that we have had in schools these past several days in the midst of an early summer heat wave. Now, the good news, if you will, is that it is an early summer heat wave and the students will be out for the summer break at the end of this week. So the uncomfortable conditions are a temporary situation, to say the very least. But it does raise the broader question of the conditions in our schools and how conducive they are to learning. 519-570-2545, star 570, 1-800-570-5715. Heather sends an email to Mike at 570news.com. Says, Mike, I remember sitting in hot, humid, dead smelly air schoolrooms and then going home to a non-air-conditioned house. I survived to now almost 83 years. Heather, I appreciate the email. And, at the risk of being that guy, because I don't like being that guy, but I always just believe in sharing with you my truth. My opinion on this is I do wonder lately if we don't make a little bit too much out of these uncomfortable situations. I'm not saying it's comfortable by any stretch. Being in a hot, stuffy classroom, the likes of which many of us have probably been in through the course of our lifetimes, is just that. It's uncomfortable. But do you think we can persevere? I think that we can. We can get creative by getting outside and finding some shade on the school property, maybe just getting outside, period, and being in the air that's not quite as insulated and dead as the air indoors, with appropriate sun protection, of course, the hats and whatnot have you. But I have to wonder if we aren't almost conditioning our young people today to retreat from these conditions, be they extreme cold or extreme heat. Nobody's saying that they're comfortable, but one of my former colleagues was fond of saying there's no such thing as bad weather, only inappropriate clothing. And I know when it's extremely cold, it's much easier to layer up. When it's extremely hot, you can only layer down so much, if you know what I'm saying. But I don't know if you heard this little tempest in a teapot in Toronto this week, where on the weekend, when we were into the thick of this heat wave, the city closed more than a dozen of its outdoor pools because the lifeguards were complaining that it was too hot and it was uncomfortable or unsafe for them to be working in those conditions. They're sitting poolside. Like, surely you can, in the course of your duties as a lifeguard, dip into the water for a moment and cool off. Surely we can create a system whereby you get relieved from your lifeguard's chair more frequently, and maybe you're only out for a couple of hours instead of a few hours. I don't know what lifeguarding shifts look like, but you know what I mean? We can accommodate for that sort of thing. But these conditions, as extreme as they have been the past several days, are not unprecedented. We dealt with these conditions when we were younger ourselves, and we seemed to find a way to persevere. And I just worry a little bit that we are shying away from the resilience that we are capable of, and building in some excuses for, well, it's too hot to go to school, it's too cold to go to school, I can't be outdoors at all because of the heat, this, that, the other thing. Outdoors will always trump indoors. It's always going to be better for you. And I worry a little bit, I do, that we have been shying away too quickly and too easily from weather. There's not a forest fire out there right now, right? So I think we can probably do better than we ask of ourselves. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Let's go to the phones, hear from you on the show this morning. George, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Mike. How are you doing today?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
Wonderful. I want to do a public service announcement for the 45 people who listen to you.
Okay.
Okay, on those days, like we had on Monday and Tuesday, Mike, I was that kind of guy who it would have totally wiped me out. Totally. I was very susceptible to hot weather like that. What I found, if you add mineral salt, or sometimes they call it electrolytes, to your water, it does carry you a long way. A lot of people don't know that. Some people do. I've been doing it, and I have to tell you, Monday, Tuesday did not affect me so much.
Good tip, George. Appreciate the public service announcement. Adding a little bit of electrolytes, a way to get through this. Yvonne sends an email to Mike at 570news.com. You are 100% correct. Yvonne, I'll tell you what, these are my favorite emails to get. Can you send them to my beloved as well? Our young people, Yvonne writes, including my own offspring, are so accustomed to air conditioning that they complain that we don't use ours enough. And we have a pool. A bit spoiled, methinks. Yvonne, thank you for the email. Appreciate it. Yeah, listen, I grew up in a household, most of us probably did, right? Air conditioning used to be a whole lot more of a luxury than it is today. It's far more common today than it was back when we were kids. At least that's what my memory tells me. I could be mistaken on that. And again, the weather that we have had these last number of days is in no way unprecedented. It's still relatively rare that we end up in extremes like this. And it's not, I don't think it's as bad as we make it sound it to be. And I think because of the language that we attach to it and the warnings for extreme heat, right? All of these different weather warnings that come out, et cetera, I think it conditions us to be a whole lot more concerned than we need to be. Absolutely. There will be people that are affected differently, affected more greatly by the weather than others. But we know how to deal with that and accommodate for that. As George said, maybe it's just a matter of getting more electrolytes into that particular person. We can cope with the heat. I know we can, just like we can cope with the cold, because we've been doing it for millennia. And I sometimes think we have reached a little bit of a Chicken Little stage in all of this when it comes to the extreme weather that we experience and how we are taught to deal with it. I'm not sure it's going to change, but in my little corner of the world, I will say my piece on the subject, and I've been able to do that so far this morning. It is a Wednesday morning, so a couple of reminders for you with regular programming. At 11 o'clock, Ian Hunter, our Blue Jay Hunter, will be here as the Jays got back on the winning track last night. And at 11:30 this morning, Rob Deutschman with Political R&D, as we learn a little bit more about how our governments run. The Blacklocks reporter, as you know, keeps an eye on our federal government like no other. And they also join us every Wednesday morning right after this update from the 570 News Center. We are minding Ottawa's business on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. It is the only reporter-owned and operated newsroom that covers the capital with neither politics nor punditry. It is the Blacklocks reporter. Find it online at blacklocks.ca. Well worth the cost of your subscription. And the managing editor there, Tom Korski, joins us every Wednesday morning at this time to chat about Ottawa's business and how Blacklocks is minding it. Good morning, Tom.
Morning, Mike. Congratulations on the $250,000, by the way. That's serious money. That's federal money. You say, wow.
Thank you, Tom. Are you saying maybe perhaps I should send it that way because they might a little help?
No, you'll never see it again. But I'm saying even by Ottawa standards, I mean that's a wow.
It is a pretty big number, and we're pretty pleased with it ourselves. Thank you for that. It's not actually too far from the amount that gets paid, Tom, our president of public health, almost $300,000 a year for that role, and now 5 years and 5 presidents of the Public Health Agency of Canada?
Isn't that something? 5 chief executives in 5 years. 3 of them didn't even fill out their contracts. That's a problem. In any organization, any union, any minor hockey club, that would speak to a degree of disarray, confusion, poor management, you name it. But here we are. The Cabinet has now named the 5th president of the Public Health Agency in the absence of any judicial inquiry into pandemic management, and we must be frank, mismanagement at the agency. We're left with, to date, reports that may tell us why there has been a revolving door at the top. And that included mismanagement of pandemic supplies. Famously, they threw away millions and millions of masks. You remember when masks were at a premium and everyone was upset in the lockdowns? They'd thrown away millions of pieces of medical equipment even months before the pandemic. And they also were responsible for hiring suspected Chinese Canadian spies at the nation's foremost microbiology lab. These were people who had secret contacts with the Chinese People's Liberation Army bioweapons program. So that may tell us why there is this churning at the very top, but it just doesn't inspire confidence in a public agency.
Public inquiry, you mentioned, Tom. Should we have any confidence? Do you have any confidence that we will ever actually get one?
I do. I think as time goes by, there will be more and more inertia, and Ottawa is the town that invented inertia. But I think there are so many people in the know, and I'm not talking about opposition MPs. I mean the Canadian Medical Association. Their president, in the day, testified at parliamentary hearings that Canada was caught flat-footed. The tragedy was, for all the lives that were ruined, the businesses destroyed, the suffering of the lockdowns, you name it. The tragedy was the health agency thought they were great. In fact, they said in notes that the Prime Minister stated publicly in the day that Canada was the most prepared country among all countries on earth. And these were the guys who couldn't run a mask warehouse or run a basic security system at a foremost microbiology lab. Incredible.
Okay, let's talk Bill 5, Tom, because it moves through our House of Commons And the idea is that we are going to fast track these nation building projects. There's still work to be done, obviously consultations, et cetera, that the Prime Minister says we'll get to this summer. But when that work gets done or begins, is there any danger here that we should be aware of?
MPs see some danger. By the way, that bill will pass the Senate under closure this week. It will pass by Friday. It would be extraordinary if the Senate stood up and said, we're not passing this bill, we have too many questions. They have passed every bill that's been put in front of them, every government bill for 30 years. What is the problem with the bill? This is the bill, as you mentioned, that allows Cabinet, using any criteria it chooses, it's written into the legislation, it's wide open, very subjective, to fast-track any industrial project. The problem is, as MPs have stated, the Bloc Québécois, of all people, have been very strong on this. The difficulty is, this is an invitation to cronyism. Let's be frank. Let's put the cards on the table. There was one Quebec MP said, there will be all kinds of bias, all kinds of arbitrariness, cronyism. Barcelou Duval was the MP, end of quote. He says, we're becoming a banana republic. That's an actual quote. Why is that? Because you're going to have industrial applicants meeting with Cabinet, looking for sweetheart treatment, and it's all going to be behind closed doors. You wouldn't do that at the school board. People, the ratepayers, would be outraged, but that's how we're going to run our G7 country.
And it's not like there's a history of this sort of cronyism, Tom. I mean, come on.
Heaven forbid. No, that would even to suggest the thought, Mike, there's a class of COVID contractor millionaires in this town. Some of them have now been banned for life under Commons motion. Some of them have had their offices raided by the RCMP. The level of sweetheart dealing in this town, if there was ever a judicial inquiry, my 2 cents, I think someone's going to jail, my opinion.
Should we be surprised at all that Canada Post is forecasting annual losses to the tune of $1 billion in the future?
Not anymore. Given the losses they've accounted for even last year, they're getting up to $700, $800 million a year. This is their corporate plan. That sounds dry and boring, but it's not. It's a Titanic hitting an iceberg. They have dogged this corporate plan. This is the first corporate plan the Canada Post Office has tabled in Parliament in a long time. Cabinet refused to table it. And it is jaw-dropping. They are describing an organization they describe as structurally unsound. How did they put it? We've reached a critical point, said the summary of the corporate plan. This is only the material they make public. Cracks are rapidly appearing in the foundation. There is no good news in these reports, but they do predict, beginning in 2027, wait for the $1 billion mark, then $1.1 billion next year, $1.2 billion year after that, $1.3. That's a charge on the taxpayer. They can't raise stamp rates to cover that. That's going right to the general revenue, which is supported by tax dollars.
I can just see those numbers swirling around the drain right now.
It's staggering. Those are staggering losses.
One more I want to touch on before I let you go today, Tom, because this is an issue that we discuss on the show quite frequently, actually, and that is the gun buyback registry. They always sound, such registries, so good on paper, but the thing is, you need people to give you the guns to buy back.
You do, and you know what's striking about this? This is a report that was done based on in-house research by the Privy Council Office, the very top of the federal bureaucracy. They asked gun owners. They spent a bunch of money, and they had focus groups with gun owners. And you know what they've discovered? They are now predicting their program will fail. Think about that. This is supposed to be enforced after Halloween. And this is a buyback compensation for owners. They're not sure. Could be 180,000 assault-style, their phrase, assault-style firearms. Their cost is about $400 million. Budget office says twice as much. When was the last time you heard of a government program where they said, we're heading towards an ice field, we're picking up steam, there's probably every chance we're going to hit an iceberg and sink in a couple of hours? That's what this report says. It says there's a high risk of failure, and the reason is the gun owners don't trust the government anymore. So the obvious question becomes, I'm not a logician, then why?
Tom, if we ask why too many times, we'll go in that same circle around the drain.
I know.
Always appreciate your time. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Mike.
Tom Korski, managing editor of the Blacklocks Reporter, the only reporter-owned and operated newsroom that covers our nation's capital without politics or punditry. Find it online, blacklocks.ca. well worth your subscription. We'll take a break. When we come back, speaking of the price of things, the price of repairs to that covered bridge in West Montrose, the historical covered bridge, the beautiful covered bridge. Well, the price tag is going up. It will be discussed at Regional Council tonight. We'll talk about it after this on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. As you may already know, there are plans afoot in the region to rehabilitate the historic covered bridge, the Kissing Bridge, as it's known, in West Montrose. A report coming to Regional Council tonight will give Council the opportunity to discuss it further, but the price tag is now almost $12 million, which exceeds the original budget by more than $4.6 million. That's about a 40% increase over the original budget. Tony Dowling is a member of Bridge Keepers in West Montrose and joins us for a conversation. Mr. Dowling, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Farwell.
How do you feel about the price tag, first and foremost, at almost $12 million to rehabilitate the bridge?
Not as good as I feel about your fundraising total on Farwell for Hire.
You are a good man, Tony Dowling. Thank you very much for that. And you've been since a day one kind of guy on the campaign. I know who you are, Tony Dowling. Thank you.
Yeah, the price tag for the restoration is pretty staggering, but it is what it is, I guess.
And I kind of figured that you would feel that way because we know the importance of this bridge. So I know you've been active on this story from the get-go. Are you confident in the direction that the region seems to be moving here?
I think the direction on the way they plan to rehabilitate the bridge is correct. It's very historic as opposed to turning it into a Disney piece. So we're happy with that. I think the timeline, as long as we'd like to see, but again, that is what it is. It's a pretty unique project for the region or anyone to undertake. So that's what you have.
So how are we going about this rehabilitation and restoration so it's not Disney-like, as you mentioned?
Well, I mean, the way the bridge has been for the last 70 years, probably, it has a steel Bailey bridge hidden inside the wainscoting on the sides. That's not the original structure. So they're going back to a more historic structure where it will be timber as opposed to a combination of steel and timber.
Can you put into perspective for us, Tony, what this bridge means, not just to the community, but beyond?
Well, it's several things, Mike. It is the community, obviously. And you go from the region to the township. It's the logo of the township, Woolwich Township. Certainly, it's a huge tourist draw. I would say it's probably one of, if not the most visited items or locations in Waterloo region, farmers market accepted, things like that. But certainly for a one-piece, one-off, we get tens of thousands of tourists every year out there.
What message will you be bringing to Regional Council tonight when you appear there to make a presentation?
I think several messages. One, that the bridge does connect the two sides of the village. If you don't allow vehicular traffic across the bridge, now really we don't see our neighbors. We're not going to drive past them and then stop to chat. You're not going to have horses and buggies going through the village anymore, so you're going to lose that aspect of the charm and the tourist appeal. And you're going to force those buggies out onto the busy highway rather than going through the bridge. So you can't have buggies without having cars.
Do you know what timelines look like right now in terms of getting the project done?
I believe they're hoping to get the wheels turning, get work started probably late next month, maybe into August. And I believe it's going to take a year, upwards of a year, to complete it.
What shape is the bridge in currently?
It's not good. The roof has a lot of holes. You can't really get out of the rain by going into the bridge right now. There's a very noticeable sag in the northern span. And I think generally it's certainly not getting better as this project gets delayed and delayed.
Well, we'll hope for the best and hopefully get moving forward on this. I know Council has that opportunity tonight to keep it moving despite the price tag. As you said, it is what it is. Tony, appreciate your time on the show. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Mike. Always good to be with you. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye. Tony Dowling is a member of Bridgekeepers in West Montrose. He will be appearing at council tonight as our regional council gets the opportunity to look at that $12 million project to rehabilitate and restore the historic covered bridge in West Montrose. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. This weekend marks a great chance for you to shop local in our community. Maxine Metzger is the founder of Joyful Vendors, and their summertime market is this Saturday in Elmira. Maxine, what do we need to know about this weekend's market?
Mark the date on your calendar, Saturday, June 28th. It runs from 10 until 3 at the Gale Presbyterian Church here in Elmira. The admission is free, and we are just supporting a whole bunch of local vendors, both indoors and outdoors. People will be set up with their booths and tents, and there is literally something for everyone.
Tell me a little bit more about your interest in supporting local vendors, Maxine, because I know you've been at this for quite some time now, and it was all rooted in this interest in supporting local.
It was, yeah. This is our third summertime market, so we've been running these events now for 3 years, and I truly just wanted to support all of these local businesses that were trying to make a buck. It started back in COVID, and I was doing gift baskets and buying products from local stores to put in these gift baskets, and then spreading joy by giving that gift basket to whoever it was that had placed the order, or who had ordered it for themselves, for that matter. And it just grew from there, from doing small little gift baskets to now running at least 4 of these events a year, which is all just supporting shopping local, supporting our local small businesses, bringing the community together, and really just in one big fun event coming up on Saturday where we can shop local, support the local businesses, and come together.
What is the process like in determining which vendors make it to the market this weekend, for example?
Well, we usually do have quite a long waiting list of vendors, but we try and have a really diverse group of people that are coming to our shows. So we try and have everything from home decor to jewelry, fashion for both men and women. We always try and have a vendor there that's got toys and games for kids. The local candle makers, of course. We really try and have something that will cater to everyone's likes and interests. So you can come and buy a gift for somebody, or you can get something new for your own home. This time there's going to be lots of stuff there for summer and people heading to the cottage. So signs to put up on your cottage or on your trailer. It's really quite the process to choose who we're going to accept for each market.
Remind us again, please, Maxine, the details of where and when on Saturday, and perhaps where we can go online for more information.
Absolutely. So it's the 3rd annual summertime market put on by Joyful Vendors Market up here in Elmira, Saturday, June 28th from 10 until 3, and it's being held at the Gale Presbyterian Church. Admission is free, and you can go online to joyfulvendorsmarket.com and find a list of all of the vendors, and we are also on Facebook and Instagram.
We'll look forward to another great market this weekend. Keep up the great work, and thanks very much for joining the show.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Maxine Metzger is the founder of Joyful Vendors, the big market coming up, the summertime market this weekend in Elmira. Great opportunity for you to shop local. This weekend marks, I think, a long weekend for many of us. You're going to take the Monday between that Tuesday Canada Day, aren't you? Anyway, Canada Day is less than a week away, and a local musician has the perfect Canada Day ditty just for you. We'll learn more about it coming up on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Is a-coming, and I'll soon be on the go. I can't afford to roam too far from home with the dollar down real low. I won't lose $40 on 100, not with my holiday plan. I'm packing my bags, taking these white bags, traveling Canadian land. With the bears
that is the name of the song,
the
Canadian Land, and who else would record such a song other than the Canuck himself, Kevin Westfall, joins us in studio. You knucklehead, you. Good morning.
How are you, Mike? Thanks for having me here today again.
Oh, we just need to get Kevin's microphone on there, Jen. Wake up. I'm sorry we woke you up in there. Okay. Good morning, my friend.
She needs a bit more coffee, maybe. Eh?
You know, she's enjoying the song too much. I can see her toe tapping from in here.
Yeah, she was dancing. I saw that over back there. Mike, thanks for having me on.
It is an absolute pleasure. Thank you for giving us the perfect song just in time for Canada Day.
It has been kind of striking a chord, that's for sure.
Explain yourself, Canuck. Where did this one come from?
Well, I recorded it a while ago. And when the dollar was low before, and I did nothing with it. Like when I was recording, when I record, sometimes I'm doing 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 1, or like I'm doing random projects all the time. And I didn't know what to do with it, and then all of a sudden, the last 3 or 4 months, call it, with everything, the turmoil in the States and everything going on here, and then our dollar dropped. It just seemed like a great time to do it. I had it done, so I hooked up with our good friend Danny Bailey there, and he grabbed his camera, and we went out and shot this video maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago.
I love that guy. Now, I don't know if he told you how far back we go. He actually taught me one of my classes in college.
Well, yeah.
And then we were at what was then called CKCO TV together back in the day.
Right.
He's so talented.
He really is. He's a great guy. On many levels.
Absolutely.
Right? So I know he's been great to work with, right?
Did I get it right when I watched your official music video that you were talking to a goose at one point? It looked like a stuffed goose, maybe. Like no Canada geese were harmed in the making of Danny's video.
No, there was no Canadian geese. No.
How did you enjoy that process?
What, the video?
Shooting the video.
The video was great. We shot it up in Harriston. I love that town. It was shot at the Everhill Farm. If you're ever up there, you can see it from, I forget the highway number, 50, what runs through there? 50 something.
I should know too, because I love going up there on my bike, but yeah.
It was a good friend of mine. I'm friends with the Harrison family, and they helped me with my videos. They said, they're supportive. So when I saw the piece of property where we could film this, and I was thinking of Danny, I thought, hey, what a perfect location here to film this video. Like, it was just great. And all the people that, are good sports and help out in the videos and stuff. Like, I can't wait to do the next one, right? Like, we just have so much fun, right? So, and that's what it's all about. They're good. It's like good Canadiana. You can't get any better than that, right?
You nailed it. That's exactly what I was thinking, and I want to encourage folks to check out Canadian Land, the official music video on YouTube. Check out our buddy, the Canuck. It is a slice of Canadiana, as I said, just in time for Canada Day next Tuesday. For you, Kevin, after all this time, the music, first of all, you can tell there's still passion in creating it, and it still resonates with people. What's the secret?
I just enjoy it. And I know I have an audience with it. I don't. It's just there's so many things I enjoy. I enjoy the creativity part of it. I enjoy meeting the people. I enjoy coming down and meeting people like you. Like, I think of the people that I've met since I've started doing this. I've met celebrities. I've met a lot of radio people, television people, camera people, and just people who love Canada. I'm meeting these people on a daily basis, and it's just great. It makes me. I can't wait to do the next one. You're going to have to be in one of the videos.
I know. We tried to coordinate that, or at least to be there on set. But I think I had a hockey trip or something to do. So
right.
Anyway, speaking of trips, you're traveling with a cooler bag today. What's
Canada
going on?
Day is approaching. Right?
Yes, it is.
So do you celebrate that? Like a Dominion Day, Canada Day? How do you do it?
100% I do.
Backyard barbecue?
You know it. I cheers to the flag. Absolutely.
Well, when I was talking to Danny, he said, if you want to get on Mike's good side, bring him a box of 50. So that's what I did. Here, if you look, here, I'll show you.
Okay.
Mike a box of 50.
Okay. No.
If you look, where's your camera?
Wait a minute. That's not the 50 I was expecting, Canuck.
50 Timbits.
50
Timbits, I know. Anyway, you and your team, make sure you get a couple of them.
Listen, I will take out the birthday cake Timbits and then maybe consider sharing with... Thank you.
But if it were like a box of 50, I know I didn't mean to throw you off, but if you would have had that actual box of 50, You know what would have went good with that? What pairs perfect with a box of 50? Think of this on Canada Day.
I will think of this on Canada Day. I was going to say Canadian Land, your new song, would pair very well with it, but of course. Now,
Mike, Canada Day is coming. These are for you.
I am not sharing these.
No,
I am not.
These are personal stash from the Canuck. Pickled eggs, fresh.
All right. Now, tell me the story of the pickled eggs, because you also, if I'm not mistaken, have a song about the perfect pickled egg.
How I got the idea for this was, I guess, pickled eggs originated in England in the 16 and 1700s.
I would have thought we did it right here in Mennonite country.
Well, maybe, but this is what I found in my research.
Yep.
And for different reasons, in the pubs in England in the 1600s, because they had them back then, they didn't have refrigeration. So they'd fill these big jars with vinegar and eggs, and they'd put them up on the bar, and people would just kind of reach in with their hand and salt and eat these things, and they loved them. So fast forward to World War II. We have troops over there, soldiers over there. They're going into these pubs. Our soldiers fell in love with these tasty little delightful guys.
Of course they did.
Right? And that's how they ended up after World War II in our legions. They kind of brought them. They're a gift. They're a gift from England, just like our country.
You know what? I have a very difficult time when I'm in the right pub resisting the jar on the end of the bar. I don't care how long they've been there, Canuck. I'll take them.
I always like the one that's kind of green and purple a little bit. It's been in there for a couple of years. Try those ones. Those ones are beautiful. Eh?
What's life like these days in the music industry?
Well, it is what you make of it. I'm used to eating craft dinner. I've been doing that for years, and that, beefaroni and stuff like this.
Perfect.
There's definitely not a lot of work out there if you're a traveling bar musician or whatnot. But however, I'm finding out with what I'm doing. I didn't realize how many of these little songs I have. I'm being told that I might have enough to go out and do a little show. So that could be in the works, a live Canuck concert. Would you go to one?
I would 100% go to one. Well, there better be some pickled eggs at the bar.
There'll be pickled eggs and draft beer, and you name it, it'll all be there. We'll have it all, right?
How will you be celebrating Canada Day?
Well, I used to go. I used to go up to the lake all the time. I'm a big fan of Lake Huron.
Wait, how much do you have in this travel cooler with you?
Well, Mike, I've been thinking about you there, buddy. I know that you're a big Canuck. You're a proud Canadian, so I thought I would just bring some things along here. I love Lake Huron.
So do I.
I have a song out. I had a song out a few years ago all about going to the lake, and it was about driving through Lucknow, Ontario.
Hey, now listen here.
As we all know now, when we see Lucknow, we're not too far from the lake.
That's true. We cottaged in Port Elgin all the time, so I have a great fondness for Lake Huron.
So every time you drive through Lucknow, does your wife or your kids or whoever's with you say, "Hey, are we in Lucknow now?" And you say, "Yeah, we're not too far from the lake."
I hate to break it to you, Canuck, but we have a different way of recognizing where we are when we pass through Lucknow. I can't share it on the air, but it's a word that rhymes with luck.
Okay.
That is a 4-letter word.
Right.
You can't say on the radio. Luck. Got it?
Yeah.
So we say blank no, it's luck no, because that's what the folks in the Bruce told me.
It depends where you're coming from.
Like Palmerston up near Harriston.
That's right.
There you go.
Palmerston, Harriston,
Lucknow. Yeah.
If you're talking to somebody from Kitchener, you're going to Lucknow, or you talk to someone from Owen Sound, and they're there, you're in Lucknow. Yeah.
And we knew we were getting close to the cottage when we saw Burgoyne. Oh, there you go.
There you go.
You're going to be, you're not too far from.
These are for you. Smack them all over the back of your car.
I will smack them all over the back of my car. They're going to fit in perfectly.
These are for my friends in Lucknow. If you know anybody up that way, give them one.
You know what? When I go, do I have your permission to take one to Owen Sound with me when I go for a hockey game next year?
Pass them out. I've got lots of them.
Kevin Westphal from Lucknow or Lucknow, depending on where you are. You're not too far from the lake. Canadian Land, the new song and video out now. Find it on YouTube.
Happy Canada Day, Dominion Day, everybody.
And to you, my friend, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Mike.
This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Our local students have achieved some national success at the Canada-wide Science Fair. And here to tell us more about it, Lois Peterson, who's the director of the Waterloo Wellington Science and Engineering Fair. Lois, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. How's your day going so far?
My day is going extremely well, thank you. How about yours?
Mine is doing well, too. A little nervous just to be on the air. I really appreciate you reaching out and giving us some opportunity to let you know about our students and how they were able to shine all the way in Fredericton, New Brunswick for the Canada-wide Science Fair.
I am more than happy to do this, and don't be nervous at all, Lois. Thank you for helping these students achieve this success. And can we start with the criteria? Like, what were our students able to do that got them into this Canada-wide Science and Engineering Fair?
Well, each year we have the Waterloo Wellington Science and Engineering Fair, and we've been doing this since 1974. And what we do is our students, some of them come in representing their school. Some of them are individual entries. In some of the schools, they have a science fair within the schools, and they select the students to come to our regional fair. At the regional fair, we have a safety crew that makes sure that the exhibits are all together. Wouldn't be remiss if I said that Bill Proctor, our registrar, he takes care of making sure they do all the things that need to do to meet the standards. They have to be screened as far as the safety. We have Wendy, who's our ethics, to make sure that part is done. And then Stefan, who is our judge, lead judge, gets a group of judges from various walks of life, various areas in our community, some from education, some from engineering, some from some of our large businesses. They come in and do the judging. From there, they have to select the top 9. And what we do with those lovely people, we have an opportunity for them to represent our region at the Canada-wide Science Fair. And we had 9 science fairs that hit the mark and were our top in our area. And they went down to on May 31st to June 7th. They were in Fredericton, New Brunswick for the 2025 Canada-wide Science Fair.
What sorts of exhibits were our students able to create this year?
A large variety. When you hear some of it, Brim, for example, she had a scraper snail, an aquarium cleaning robot, and she was from Centennial. Marianne and her brother Allie did a spray bot vaporizer. Felicity, soil sense. She's into an approach to look at soil organic carbons. Aisha from St. John's Kilmarnock, she did a novel approach to non-small cell lung cancer virotherapy. Tristan from Laurel Heights did detecting and quantifying molecules in exoplanetary atmospheres. Ashish got down to looking at microshield, next-gen biopesticides, looking at the RNA and the fungal pathway of disruption. Emily from Laurel Heights, she went on to the quasar-based virtual screening for T. gondii for autophagy inhibitors. And Cindy Cheng is a 3D printing soft microbiotics niche of stem cell delivery. And if that doesn't get you, I don't know what does, because this is unbelievable what they do. They really do.
It got me for sure, Lois, for sure. Now, am I correct when I see here that all 9 of our students from this area that went down to Fredericton for the Canada-wide Science Fair came home with awards?
Yes, they did.
Wow.
And it was interesting because they have an award ceremony, and I was obviously here, and each one when the first one I said congratulations, I thought, oh my goodness, what happens if not all 9 get the congratulations? And I said, it's okay, we're all great, blah blah blah, and end up happening all 9 ended up coming across, and I wouldn't be remiss if I said that Wendy Shaw and Ron Tchaikovsky, they were our chaperones that took the kids there. But before they even left here, we met with them every week just to get them ready with their short presentation and their long presentation, all the rest. But all 9 students representing the region received awards totaling $99,000 in cash awards and scholarship offers from remarkable research facilities across Canada.
It's so exciting. It must be really exciting for the kids to be able to make this trip. And, Lois, when we think about it, so many brilliant young minds creating these exhibits. And I noticed that a number of them are young women, which is something we want to see in these areas of STEM.
That's right. Yeah, no, I just don't. You always ask them like where they got that idea, whether it's seeing something or watching, or in the past, one young man, he noticed that one of his relatives had a great lawn and somebody else didn't, and he developed a dandy robot that goes across and cuts the dandelions. So you never know where the next idea will come from, but I think we should be thrilled with the opportunity that this fair does. And it's not just, we've got a committee that works. None of them, it's non-for-profit like everything else. I think where many of our successes are in this region, but we could have to think the educators, our sponsors, our families, our community members who supported the regional fair and provided this opportunity for these finalists not just to go to Canada-wide, but step to the plate and helped us do our fair to get them that first step to go on. Because after the Canada-wide, there's an international science fair, and we have had several kids in the past that have been a part of that, and that is something else we could report on if we have some information. Because we've got one out doing the International Science Fair, and I'll let you know, Mike, as soon as we know what the results are about her. Okay?
Can't wait to hear. Can't wait to hear. Lois, congratulations on all the success, and thank you for helping the students along this path.
And, Mike, thank you for all you do.
It is an absolute pleasure.
No, really. And this, just a little bit of a side, Mike, I had the pleasure, and it was the pleasure to be a teacher to two people in your family. I taught Luann and I taught Sherry.
Oh my gosh, my babies.
Your babies. And you know what? I've got something for you, and I'm going to dig it out. And I thought I might be seeing you in person today, but I have something I want to give you because Luann gave me a nice present as her teacher. It's a Care Bear. And I can't think of anybody who doesn't care more than you do. And I'd like to give that to you, my dear friend.
Thank you. Thank you, Lois. We'll make sure we make that connection. Thank you for this.
Okay.
All right, Lois. Take care now.
Okay, you too.
Thanks.
Okay, all the best.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Lois Peterson, director of the Waterloo Wellington Science and Engineering Fair. What a perfect day to mention the names of my beautiful sisters, Luann and Sherry, as we announce our Farwell for Hire fundraising total. What a great day. It's the Mike Farwell Show. 570 News Radio, Rogers TV.
The Whiz Kids had won it, Bobby Thompson had done it, and Yogi read the comics all the while. Rock and roll was being born, marijuana we would scorn. So down on the corner the national pastime went on trial. We're talking baseball, Klazuski, Campanella, talking baseball. The man and Bobby Fella, the Scooter, the Barber and the Nuke. They knew them all from Boston to Dubuque, especially Willie, Mickey, and the Duke.
It is the time of the week that we talk a little bit of baseball with our good friend Ian Hunter. He is the Blue Jay Hunter. Joins us every Wednesday morning, 11 o'clock, to talk about Blue Jays baseball. Good morning, Ian.
Good morning, sir.
I want you to know that this is nothing personal, okay?
Okay.
But because it's not about you. It's about the statement that you made that we were all thinking when you were here last Wednesday. Mm-hmm. We talked about this.
The Jays coming up, the Diamondbacks, they're under 500 right now, but you've got the White Sox rolling into town. Not saying that's an automatic sweep, but they should not have trouble scoring runs this weekend.
Not personal. We all thought that.
Yeah.
So can we just start with what the HE double hockey sticks happened when we dropped 2 of 3 to the Chi Sox on the weekend?
I know. I think I've learned the hard way to never underestimate an opponent, especially one who's on pace to lose 100-plus games a year. Yeah, they did have trouble scoring runs against the White Sox. So do not take any betting advice from me, by the way. I'm apparently horrible at this. Yeah, that was not an ideal series against the White Sox. They kind of let one slip through their fingers on Sunday. That should have been 2 games out of 3. But yeah, I mean, eventually, the White Sox are going to win some games. They just so happened to take place in Toronto against the Blue Jays. So that wasn't the brand of baseball that we've seen from the Jays over the last couple of weeks. That was kind of them reverting back to their old ways. Luckily, last night was, again, another polar opposite, kind of the Jays team we've seen in May and June. So that's promising. But yeah, I feel bad for anyone who went to those losing games in Toronto over the weekend.
We had friends at the game on Sunday, and it feels like ancient history now. It's just that when we were talking last week about, this team playing in a manner such that we should be thinking of adding at the trade deadline, they're nipping really almost on the heels of the Yankees, 3 games back, etc. And we expected the good times to continue rolling. But in the bigger picture, you talk about that Sunday game, the one that slipped away. In the bigger picture, I think, Ian, we need to be talking about Jeff Hoffman, don't we?
Yeah, I wrote a piece about this the other day. Obviously, the peripheral numbers are not great. He has like a 5.63 ERA. He's giving up a ton of home runs this season. But on the whole, if you look at his like strikeout numbers, they're pretty much the same. He's had a few kind of fluky home runs, ones that have been like wall scrapers or they're in the other batter's box. But those are the issue. The homers have been what has plagued Hoffman. And I don't know if it's just overuse, if we're starting to get into the dog days of summer, these guys start experiencing arm fatigue, because he looked electric in that first month of the season. I think he only gave up like maybe 1 or 2 earned runs, but ever since he's been a completely different guy. So I've heard some people saying, the Jays should remove Hoffman as the closer. I don't know if I agree with that. They signed him to a 3-year deal basically to be this team's closer. He's hit a rough patch, but, you had some people saying they should put Yariel Rodriguez in there. Well, Rodriguez gave up a home run last night. So, all these guys are going to get hit at some point. I think the manager, John Schneider, basically backed Hoffman and said, yeah, he is our guy. But at some point, I think if things continue to go sideways for an elongated period of time, I think there may be discussions about a closer's thing. But it's been up and down for Hoffman, but I don't think it's trending in a bad direction.
I think we had this talk because you had written a piece and BJ Ryan showed up as one of your top 5 or all-time best, which still strikes me. And I just bring up another closer because what a position. And I don't know about other Blue Jays fans, but me, like I'm still stuck in the Ward to Henke 7-inning games, right? Ward comes in for the 8th, Henke for the 9th, and it was almost locked up after 7 innings.
Yeah, it was automatic in 92, 93, those early 90s teams, right? It just goes to show you how volatile a relief pitcher is, because, you're a god one day and then you're garbage the next, the second you blow a save like Jeff Hoffman did on Sunday. So there was also another play too, a bit of a weird ball that he didn't field properly and he should have got out of that inning cleanly. So, it's a butterfly effect there. I don't know, but I'm not. If you had to, on a scale of 1 to 10, my level of concern for Jeff Hoffman is like maybe a 4, I would say.
Okay. I'll take your word for it, for sure. You were the one that thought, it wouldn't be a sweep of the White Sox, but we should.
Yeah, take it with a grain of salt.
Take it with a grain of salt. Still with pitching.
Yeah.
Max Scherzer tonight?
I know.
Come on.
We haven't seen this dude in pitch since March 29th, almost 3 months, which, 1, time flies, and 2, that's a lot of time to miss for a guy who you signed to $15 million. So I think a lot of fans are actually pretty kind of jacked about, the Jays fans are excited about this tonight. Like they want to see this guy pitch. He's a future Hall of Famer. To me, the injury concerns are going to be front and center, right? Like if you want to make sure he gets 4-ish innings tonight, and hopefully afterwards that thumb is still okay, because it sounded like from his last rehab start, he complained of a little bit of soreness in the thumb, which is normal, but it wasn't 100% encouraging either. So, it's going to be, I think a lot of people, not just Jays fans, but front office, coaching staff, there's a lot hinging on this game tonight.
You're making me think, when you talk about the thumb, I'm going off the top of my head. Who was it back in? Was it Al Leiter back in the day with the hangnail or something? The blisters. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
Aaron Sanchez. I don't know if you remember a few years ago, he dealt with. He won the ERA title in 2016, and then the next year he dealt with blisters, and then the rest of his career he just kind of fell off a cliff. So these things can be really temperamental, and especially for a guy, in his 40s, not exactly a spring chicken, but when it's connected to the thumb and its nerves, you really don't want to be messing around. So yeah, there's a lot riding on this for sure.
I saw Aaron Sanchez pitch last year with the Buffalo Bisons.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah, rehab start. Yeah.
Absolutely. Ian Hunter joins us every Monday morning at 11. He is our Blue Jay hunter, and you are always welcome to be involved in the conversation about Blue Jays baseball here on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Wednesday mornings, 11 o'clock, we talk baseball, specifically Blue Jays baseball. Not only because the parent company of this radio station just so happens to be the parent company of the Toronto Blue Jays as well, Rogers. But no, we love our Blue Jays baseball. They are Canada's baseball team, and we have the Blue Jay hunter, Ian Hunter, on staff with us here at 570 News Radio. Let's go to the phones and hear from you, talking some baseball with Preston Paul. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning, Mike. Ian, how you doing?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm pretty good, thanks.
What's your question?
Just more of a comment on just the Blue Jays as a whole and how they play. Pet peeve is their effort when they're going down to first base on a ground ball in the infield. It drives me crazy. It's 90 feet, not 90 yards to run down. And it really shows the lack of hustle. And when I grew up playing ball, hustle was one of the main things to do when you play baseball.
Yeah. I think this is a problem that's not exclusive to the Blue Jays. I think this is something that's apparent across Major League Baseball. And I hate to say it, and I think the reason why is that, these guys don't want to get injured. Like in the case of Vladimir Guerrero Jr., you've got $500 million tied up into this guy. He's a tentpole guy in your lineup, and if he twists an ankle, running into first base, that's huge, right? So I've seen countless injuries, like Bryce Harper did that a few years ago, trying to run into first base. So I see it from both sides. I think the old school person in me thinks, you got to run out every ground ball because you never know what can happen. But at the same time, would you want a guy to be injured on a game where you're losing 10 runs and you blow out your ankle at first base?
Yeah, I'd rather see if they get hurt with the effort in trying, then that's just fate. You just can't baby yourself along. And that's, again, we don't have the hustle and the effort when it comes to going after a ball or going down to the base or whatever it might be, right?
Yeah, I agree. From a fan perspective, that is frustrating to watch. You want to see the guys running out 100% every single time, but from the player perspective, they also want to keep themselves healthy too. So I see it from both sides.
And I'd like to see John Schneider, and I like him as a manager, but I'd love to see him leave those pitchers in more often.
Yeah, and I mean, in the case of last night's game, I think Mason Fluharty, he was only out there for maybe 3 batters. And he brought in Chad Green, who ended up giving up that 3-run home run anyway. Yeah. So I would have left Fluharty in there because you still had a bit of a cushion. But yeah, it's kind of it's a Monday morning quarterback thing too, right? Like you either take him out too early or too late. I think for the most part, John's decisions have been okay, but that's one maybe that I would have left last night.
Yeah. You think that it puts a little inconsistency into their pitchers when they think, geez, I better do good or I'm going to get pulled right away here? Like, I get into trouble, let them get out of trouble.
Yeah, for sure. You want to give them the rope to kind of be able to work out of it, not just, all of a sudden you give up a walk and you're taken from the game. So it's kind of a delicate balance to kind of try to walk that tightrope.
Yeah, I agree.
Great to hear from you this morning, Paul. Thanks, buddy.
Alrighty.
Take care. Our good friend Preston Paul, not to be confused with Paul from Preston. He brings up hustle, though, Ian, and I don't know if Paul was reading the same weekend newspapers that I was, and I can't remember which paper it was in. I love my weekend papers, and there was a story about it, and I'm going to forget the player's name, the modern-day player who brought up the issue, but I think he said something along the lines of, I only give 70% out there. I can't remember. Anyway, so the article, the picture that drew me in was of Pete Rose sliding headfirst into home plate, or diving into home plate. His nickname was Charlie Hustle, and the whole column was about hustle and how do you define it and can you teach it and this, that, the other thing. And Ron Washington was one of the guys quoted in there, and he has no time for the people that won't give 100%.
Yeah, and I think there was a Pittsburgh Pirates player last week, O'Neill Cruz. I think he was got caught not running a ground ball out or not advancing on a play or something, and he got benched. So it's not something that is looked over these days. I think it's kind of tolerated a little bit more, but yeah, it's from a fan perspective, when you kind of see a guy lollygagging it down the first baseline, you're like, man, if you got out of the box a little bit sooner, maybe you could have got a single or something.
And that was the gist of the article as well, that it's more difficult with the modern athlete to challenge them, to rip them a new one, to bench them. Apparently, back in the day, the players made sure if you were dogging it, your teammates made darn sure that you knew what the expectation was on that team.
Right. Yeah. If the manager didn't say something, a veteran player like a Max Scherzer, George Springer would have taken you aside and said, hey, that's not how we conduct business here.
Absolutely. I'm certainly with Preston Paul on this. I understand the risk of injury and where you're coming from, but I'm here to play the game, and I'm going to play it as hard as I possibly can.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. All right, back to the phones. Bob, good morning.
Hi, Mike. Having a good day, sir?
Yes, we are. Thanks. What's your question for Ian?
Hi, Ian.
Hello.
I get a kick out of the call if you phone in, not your show, but on other shows. And so I'd rather have Clement at third base than Berger. I think Berger's a little better defensively. He's got more power.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of tricky part of this lineup right now, is trying to fit all these guys in, and they all warrant playing time, everyday at bats. I think Ernie Clement has been stellar defensively. He's handled the bat capably. Addison Barger's been a really nice story. He's got a heck of an arm, whether you put him at third base or in the outfield. I think right now, probably Barger slots in better in the outfield spot, but I think long term, it would be nice to have you always want like a power bat at the third base spot, right? And I think Barger kind of fits that bill a little bit better than Clement. Clement's more of like a utility infielder, but because you have everyday guys like Bichette and Guerrero and Jimenez, it's really Clement. The only spot for Clement right now to get everyday at bats is at third base. So it's a bit of a puzzle right now, but I think the Blue Jays are figuring out a good way to get everybody playing time.
Just to bring it back full circle before we let you go, Ian, as disappointed as we were with a tough weekend against the White Sox, the Blue Jays are actually a half game closer to the Yankees than they were a week ago at this time when we talked. And last night's win over the Guardians is big because Cleveland also in that wild card race, and the Jays keep themselves in a playoff position.
Yeah, I think they're a game and a half above the Guardians right now. So you keep those guys at bay, you hang on to your wild card spot, and we're still looking forward to that 4-game series in Toronto with the Yankees next week. That's going to be huge.
Massive. All right, you know what, real quick, like 30 seconds, but the KPL starting tonight is having 9 straight Wednesday nights of baseball movies, 9 for 9 innings. Do you have a favorite? I think this is such a cool idea.
Yeah, my 2 favorite probably are Major League and League of Their Own. I think I've told this story before. My mom actually took me to the theater to see League of Their Own when I was a kid. I can't remember what year it came out, but just to have a soft spot for those 2 movies in particular. So I'm glad the KPL is doing that. That's awesome.
I think it's awesome. At the main branch on Queen Street in the auditorium downstairs, A League of Their Own comes up on July 30th.
Perfect.
If you want to mark it down. Field of Dreams launches it tonight. The There's No Crying in Baseball movie series. Sounds fun. Ian, thanks for being here.
You're very welcome.
Our Blue Jay Hunter every Wednesday morning, 11 o'clock here on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. I'm thinking I might just stop having guests regular guests in studio with me. On Monday, David Drew was mad at me for Drew's views and wanted to give me a tongue lashing. Today, Rob Deutschman says I'm wrong. Oh, this is great. It's the best week ever if you're Mike Farwell. Deutschman joins us next for Political R&D. This is the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Perfect song.
I wonder who chose it.
It's your misunderstanding.
Hang on, we got to hit the post, Rob. Hang on, you got to stop talking right this instant now.
There must be some misunderstanding. There must be some kind
Phil Collins.
of mistake.
Genesis.
Yes.
Back in the good old days.
I know,
Actually,
I know.
well, some might argue the Peter Gabriel Genesis days were the good old days.
Yeah, I hear that. You see Phil Collins these days or recently? It's so sad.
It makes me so sad. And I never got a chance to see him in concert, which frustrates me.
Yeah, and then if you went in the past year or two, his disability and declining health.
We had a chance, and I had a Kitchener Rangers game to do in Sault Ste. Marie. So, do I go to the Sioux? Do I go see Phil Collins? Anyway, Rob and I are playing music DJ here for a moment as we get into political R&D for Rob and Deutschman every Wednesday morning at this time. And Rob sent me an email earlier today and said, Michael, you're wrong, which is just a great opener. So what do you want to chastise me for this morning?
No. I'm just kind of being harsh, overly harsh. So no. Now that you called me out on it, now I'm blushing. But anyway, so we were going to talk about the Louisa D'Amato's article recently about Cambridge and the situation where they deferred a motion and a bunch of people. But given what's happened this past week on the movement forward towards a renoviction bylaw in Kitchener and Waterloo, I thought that we should talk about that a little bit more. I know we talked about it previously, but it was interesting to watch the debates. I went back and watched the replay on the debates and listened to the conversations, right? And we really get into, and I know when I read your article, for the most part, it was a good article, for the most part. But
Tom Galloway said it was really good.
I saw
Dave
that.
Jaworski said it was pretty good.
They're excellent people.
Yeah. Well, why doesn't Rob Deutschman like my articles then? I don't know.
So it's just like you don't have 100% unanimity on any issue, just like with these two councils passed it wasn't unanimous. And I just wanted to step back for a sec because there's this question comes up, and the staff questions were coming up. This is Landlord-Tenant Board stuff. This is Landlord-Tenant Act. This is provincial. It's certainly not regional, okay, in terms of the opportunity to do something, because I was on regional council and I've been advocating with various councillors at the area municipalities to try and have someone come forward with something like this and like what Hamilton has done. I think we should just step back for a second, talk about what is it that Hamilton is providing. Hamilton, the bylaw in Hamilton, certainly you cannot usurp the province's lawmaking authority, right? So the Hamilton bylaw is simply this. If you're applying for a renovation permit, okay, building permit, renovation permit, in order to get that permit, you have to confirm for us that if you've issued an N13, which is this document that landlords issue to people, that you also provide us with confirmation that in the form of an engineering report that the tenant has to vacate in order to do that, like that you're complying with your obligations under the Landlord-Tenant Act. So in order to get the permit. And this is all done within, for example, if you issue an N13, within 7 days, you have to make this application and provide this information. And what it's doing is the municipality is using its ability and the power that they have currently. They're not adding any new powers. They're just adding another layer of qualification to get that permit to do the work. And they're basically saying, have you complied with the Landlord-Tenant Act? And that's all they're asking. And I think that's an excellent way to ensure this, because we don't have that going on right now. We have situations where landlords issue N13s. People are scared, not sure what they can do. Organizations like Acorn step in to try to provide some assistance. They don't know their rights. And oftentimes, through that process of pressure, they move out, not realizing that they have the ability to do something. And this is all the municipality is doing in Hamilton, for example, is saying, look, under this bylaw, we just want to make sure that the landlord is complying with what they're required to do under the Landlord-Tenant Act already. And that's simply what we're asking to happen here in Kitchener and Waterloo. And so we certainly are within our bounds and purview to be able to do that.
What if neither the landlord nor the tenant in Hamilton is aware of this stipulation and the landlord just moves ahead with the work?
Right, and that happens. I
Sure.
mean, that's
so it's not
throughout Waterloo region. There's lots of people that have illegal apartments in their units. Like there's sometimes you see these legal non-conforming or whatever in advertisements, but also too there's lots of places that are going up. But for those people that actually issue an N13, which is happening because the landlord wants to be able to use the N13 to try to force people out through the landlord-tenant board. And so in those situations where an N13 is issued and you're seeking to do the renovations you're talking about, so that's the subset that we're looking at. And that's where a lot of the problems have been recently, is with those landlords that have issued N13s, because they're really doing minimal amounts of work. They don't really require the tenant to move out, but they're trying to move them out of a low rent situation to be able to charge a higher rent. And that really, like, I don't have a lot of sympathy for landlords in that situation. You've purchased a property, you know the circumstances, you know the situation, you know the economics under which you bought that place. And clearly now there are those out there that are trying to drive up significant revenue and return on investment significantly higher than what one would expect in the normal course.
How long do you think it'll be before somebody challenges that restriction in Hamilton? Legally.
There may be.
I think there will be.
Well, there may be, but so far, and that's fine. I mean, do that. But I think the issue here is, as a municipal politician, and as you say in your article, we have to advocate at the province. Well, we are advocating at the province all the time, but it's falling on deaf ears constantly. We had at the region, we had the meeting with MPs and MPPs. So we didn't just restrict it to the province. We also expanded it to the feds. And out of that meeting, really nothing's come about. We just had an election. Two of the parties advocated for a change in municipal financing, right, to take some of the pressures off. And those two parties lost. When we talk about the amount of money that's being spent or the work that the municipalities are doing in the provincial purview, that gets back to that PIL, the provincial initiatives, local levy. When I left the region, it was already $180 million. It was quantified at $180 million that our local ratepayers are paying to deal with provincial initiatives. So it's already a massive amount of money, and it keeps growing every year. There is this downloading that's going on. So as a municipal politician, and we touched on this last time, when you're concerned about the safety of your local constituents and you have an opportunity to do something, then you are going to take those steps. And I think we saw that in the debate. Some people were concerned it wasn't enough. Some people felt that it could be dealt with by the Landlord-Tenant Board. But again, the examples of cases through the Landlord-Tenant Board, we didn't hear when that application started. We didn't hear when that N13 was initially provided. And we didn't hear what was the date of the decision. The Landlord-Tenant Board is so backed up, the province hasn't provided enough resources to expand it so that we can get better, timely access to a board to review these situations.
Tenants in Cambridge and Guelph just in the past 2 weeks were successful at the Landlord-Tenant Board.
How long though, Mike? That's the thing. While you have that hanging over your head, a lot of people are stressed, concerned, as we heard. You heard the stories from the people who came forward. How long do they have to go through that process, not knowing what the outcome is going to be? So, yeah, they were successful. That's great. But I can tell you, as a lawyer, a lot of times you lose the cases you think you're going to win. You win the cases you think you're going to lose. There's no certainty there. And if it's over a long period of time, that really impacts mental health for a lot of people, because we're talking about where they're living, their house. That's what we're talking about here. So housing security, food security, these are the things these are the people who are a step away from being homeless if they lose that decision.
My frustration, Rob, and you referenced when you left the region, the PIL, the Provincial Initiatives Local Levy, $180 million. At the last budget cycle, it was $230, maybe $240, but over $200 now. $1 million that we are spending as a municipality on initiatives that should be funded through progressive taxation on the provincial or federal level. But we're looking at provincial now. My frustration is we talk about these entities. You've referenced parties. You've referenced the province. If we sat in Kitchener Council chambers, the 3 local representatives of the current provincial government, do you think anybody would know who they were?
Okay.
I'm being honest.
Okay, forget about knowing who they are. No, it's not really the issue.
No, it is for me, though. This is
it is for you.
And then you can explain this to me because you've been in the seat, okay?
Yeah.
I want to know why we are... I've got to be careful. I want to know what the political game is that we feel like we must play instead of just being honest and saying, I want naming and shaming. I'm sorry, but I want naming. And if I screw up on this show, people say Farwell screwed up. When
yes, but it's
Jess
your
Dixon,
show, Mike. It's not the same.
But it's Jess Dixon's job.
Okay,
it's Brian Riddell's job.
Yeah.
It's the job of the representative for Kitchener-Conestoga to advocate for renters. Why doesn't the provincial government, why don't these 3 MPPs care about renters?
Well, they may very well be
Somebody has
advocating.
to ask them.
But again, it's the nature of the system.
Okay.
It's party politics, and we could talk about that
I want to hear
after the
about
commercial.
that. Because, exactly. You know where this is going.
I need a clock.
Rob Deutschman, political R&D on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Rob Deutschman joins us every Wednesday morning, 11:30, for political R&D. And what I'd like to learn about the political side of things is why we act like politicians and not like human beings. Why do we pussyfoot around naming the names of the people who are not doing their jobs? Because we're worried if we offend them, they're not going to bring provincial funding here anymore.
No,
it's a game, Robert, and it bothers me. It bothers me a lot.
First off, act like politicians and not like human beings.
That's right.
I mean, every politician is a human being. They're members of the community.
So I'm advocating for them to be human beings. If I was in that seat, they would get named every day.
Whatever, this whole naming thing. They are human beings. Everyone is caring. Everyone has a concern, okay? Remember, for decades of their life, they were, students, brothers, sisters, husbands, wives, parents, working in the community, doing stuff, playing sports, coaching sports. I mean, everyone's a human being with life experiences. Just because you become a politician, that label, I never understood the label of politician, because for me,
this is why it applies.
No, it's people just say, "Oh, you're a politician," because I think it's too much what they see on television or what have you. But everyone is a human being. Everyone has a concern. I mean, we all come to it differently, though, because clearly the rent eviction bylaw didn't receive, like I said, unanimous support. So some people said, no, we shouldn't do this. Some people, more majority, thankfully, said, yes, we should. That's fine. That's all fair. Provincial politics and federal politics is different than municipal politics because it's party politics. When you run, as I ran in the last provincial election as a Liberal candidate, now you have a Liberal platform. Do you agree with everything in the platform? Not likely. Again, how are you going to have unanimity on? I got a problem with that word on these issues. But you generally believe in what's going on. And now, for example, here with the rent eviction bylaw, those that opposed it, as I've in situations when I was on regional council opposed something, once the decision has been made, you cannot go around advocating against it. All right, you have to support council's direction and decision to move forward with this matter. And that's what happens in party politics, is even more so than it is at the municipal level. And so they could maybe, who knows what they raise in caucus on these issues, and who knows, maybe there is something happening there, or the provincial government is saying, no, we've done enough to deal with this issue, and we're fine with what's happening out there. And again, it's kind of left to the municipalities. And again, I get back to the end of the day. People voted in the recent provincial election. They gave them a majority government. They said, basically, how is a premier supposed to read a majority government? Other than, I've been doing this for 6 years. You gave me a majority, almost a bigger majority. Therefore, you must be happy with what I'm doing, and I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I wasn't happy with what he was doing because I ran, but that's democracy, Mike.
It would be my hope, Rob, that if we named the people who were not doing their jobs, Jess Dixon, Brian Riddell, the representative in Kitchener-Conestoga, remember this, the more we name them, the more accountable they become. We are allowing them, and again, how many more things do we have to take on as municipalities on the province's behalf. It's got to stop somewhere, and I'm ready for it to stop here.
On this issue, no.
Well,
this is the issue where
I'm
the
not saying it's the
municipality
hill
has the most potential to impact on the lives of people.
No,
in our
it
community.
doesn't. It's not. It's toothless, Rob. It's toothless.
I just explained to you what Hamilton's bylaw says. Do we want to go over it again? I mean, Hamilton is saying, hey, you with the N13, you cannot get the renovation permit unless you show us what you're going to do and you have an engineering report. So that's not toothless at all. That is substantial. That is what the municipality can do. So that is something that we can do and we're able to do. And that is positive for a lot of people in our community. Now, you said, there's some people that'll do illegal units or what have you. Yeah, that will happen, okay? But certainly, let's say you're renting something that's an illegal unit, you can make a call to bylaw or to come in and inspect, and next thing you know, things have to change. But look, people are not without the ability. Municipalities are not without the ability. They can do something, just like Hamilton's bylaw has shown. And I think that Hamilton is an excellent example of what you can do and what we can do here in Kitchener and Waterloo. And that's what I'm trying to say is it's not usurping, it's not taking over the powers or responsibilities of the province. It's allowing us to enhance the protections for people who are getting kicked out on the street, being made homeless, by landlords who are taking advantage of the system where the province has failed to step in to beef up things like the Landlord-Tenant Board.
And these structures already exist for this very reason. So our cities that are already strapped for cash, that are already doing how many other things, okay, sure, we'll just take this on too because another level of government is not doing its job. At some point, Rob, this has got to stop.
Sure, there may be a point, but we're not at that point.
I am.
No.
Doesn't matter,
not.
right?
No,
I guess not.
No,
I vote.
You're not at that point. I mean, come on. For the cost of not a very large impact on your property tax, you have this opportunity to protect people's residences. As a sitting municipal politician, you're going to take that every chance you get, okay? Because these are heartbreaking stories. These are things that are suddenly set at in front of you. A lot of times, you run because you used to be active in your community center and maybe there's something like an arena or whatever you want to help with. The next thing you know, you get elected and all of a sudden there's an avalanche of social issues that you're confronted with that you may not have seen on a day-to-day basis. But now you are responsible to make decisions that can have life or death consequences for people. And that's what we're talking about in this situation. Whenever we're talking, security of the person is the number one issue for any politician, especially a municipal politician. And when it comes to things like, we've expanded the amount of money we give to the food bank. All right. We are building houses as fast as we can using provincial and federal money here in the region. We're doing a great job at it.
Why did we increase the amount of money we give to the food bank?
It's because there's a big need.
Because?
Oh, you're going to say what, foreign students?
No.
What are you going to say?
Because ODSP rates did not increase from the province.
I thought you were going to blame a certain group.
No, I would not do that. But okay. I will again throw the entity in there.
Yeah.
Because...
Sure. ODSP payments are terrible.
Ontario disability.
Ontario disability
So the
support
province
plan.
Doesn't do its job, so the municipality would just fill it right in.
So the
keep it coming, baby.
So ODMPP's got an extra $50,000 and a defined benefit plan. So it shows you the priorities. But again, they got reelected with a majority.
Just remember their names in the next provincial election.
Just remember the party.
I will remind you. I will remind you at every chance I get.
But you don't
Rob.
name all the names, though.
I do. Jess Dixon, Brian Riddell.
Yes.
And I always forget. Is there Kitchener-Conestoga, though, is conservative.
I think his name's Michael Harris Jr., but maybe it's somebody else.
There's only one Michael Harris, as far as I've known. There's only
multiple.
One. Thank you, Rob.
Okay, thanks for the time, Mike. Listen, I appreciate these opportunities to have these conversations.
I like them, too. They're passionate and they're fair,
yes.
I hope.
Yeah, they are.
Good.
Totally.
Political R&D, Wednesday mornings at 11:30 with our good friend Rob Deutschman on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. I enjoy those back and forths with Rob Deutschman because we can come at things from a different perspective and passionately express our side of the issue and still shake hands when we're done, and do it again next week every Wednesday morning at 11:30. It is Political R&D. with Rob Deutschman. It's a little bit like our Talkback Hour, the hour that we provide to you each day for you to share your opinion. We might have the same opinion on the issue, or we might have a different one, and then we can discuss it further. But the next hour is that Talkback Hour where you get to call and share your ideas or your reactions to the news of the day. That's coming up right after this update from the 570 News Center on the Mike Farwell Show. 570 News Radio and Rogers TV.
Take out the papers and the trash, or you don't get no spending cash. If you don't scrub that kitchen floor, you ain't gonna rock and roll no more. Yakety yak.
Don't talk back.
Just finish cleaning up your room. Let's see that dust fly with that broom. Get all that garbage outside, or you don't go out Friday night. Yakety yak.
Don't talk back.
Just reading a little story online about Project Arrow, which is the Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association of Canada's project to build a car company for Canada. Flavio Volpe is one of my favorite guests on the show. He appears from time to time, and we recently talked about that very ambition to create a Canadian car company. Let's get some domestic manufacturing back and compete with the rest of the world. It's an interesting idea. But in reading this, and since we already had that conversation on the show, I'm reminded of something that Flavio wrote. Might have been earlier this week or late last, but it struck me because it was about Canada's electric vehicle mandate, which, of course, says that by 2035, so 10 years from now, there will be no more gasoline-powered vehicles sold in this country. And by next year, 20% of the vehicles sold in this country shall be electric vehicles. That is an ambitious goal, to say the very least. And in Flavio's op-ed that I read recently, he suggested that it might be a little bit too aggressive in the way of a goal. By all means, let's have that long-term outlook of an electric automobile fleet in this country, but to try to mandate the progress towards that goal might be the wrong way to go about this. 20% next year and 100% electric vehicles sold in this country by 2035. I don't know where you land on the electric vehicle ambitions, but I'm always interested in hearing your thoughts on issues like that or anything else. If there's something you want to bring to the table today, by all means do that at 519-570-2545, star 570 or 1-800-570-5715. It is your Talkback Hour. Something we talked about on the show earlier today that I thought might be worth exploring a little further as well when I heard our weather report during that recent update with Devin Robertson. And I know that I kind of come across as that guy. I'm not trying to necessarily say that, you know, back in my day, we did this and we walked uphill to school both ways and we didn't have any shoes and all these different things. But I do feel as though when it comes to the weather and our reactions to it, we've taken on an alarmist tone that I'm not certain is helpful. I mean, how many times have I said over the course of a given winter that when we're, and I'm sorry to bring that word up. I know I don't like the word any more than you do, and I don't like the season any more than you do. But how many times have I brought up over the course of the colder months that the criteria for which we declare snow events and snow warnings and storm warnings and watches, it just, I mean, I grew up in a time where 10 centimeters was not a whole heck of a lot. So why do we get so wound up about these things? And now that we're into the warmer weather months, And we have, absolutely. I would call the heat these last several days under this heat dome that was going across central Canada. Yeah, it's rather extreme when it comes to the temperatures. Humidex values up into the 40s, but it's only here for a few days. And for most of us, I think that we can kind of judge accordingly how we respond and react to it. And I just think the language that we use around it and our insistence that, I don't know, I think about the pools, the outdoor swimming pools that were closed in Toronto over the weekend because lifeguards couldn't manage the conditions. I mean, your job is being outside and you're at a pool. I mean, tell that to the people working on an asphalt paving crew about handling the conditions, or anybody else that works outdoors in weather like this. Heck, I'm an old geezer, and on the weekend, we attended a local charity walk in the morning, and then I spent the afternoon puttering in the backyard on an overdue project to get done. Outside all day. Did I try to do it in record time? No. Did I manage my time and drink water and take little breaks? Of course. But we can do this, and I'm not sure the language that we wrap around our weather forecasts or the way that we talk about the extreme nature of them or the dangers associated with all of it, I just don't think we're giving ourselves a fighter's chance of realizing that we actually can do this. We can persevere. We are resilient enough to overcome even this challenge, as if it was really a big challenge, which I don't necessarily think that it is. And I'm sorry to come across as that guy. For some people, by all means, it's a greater challenge than for others. But for most of us, with proper guidance, enough breaks out of the direct sunlight, you name it, we can get by and perish the thought we can even still learn while we're in a classroom setting, for example, because one of the areas of concern is our schools locally and beyond, even as we approach the end of the school year. Electric vehicle mandates, the way we talk about and respond to the weather these days, a couple of things on my mind. I worry just a little bit that we're tougher than we think we are. It's your Talkback Hour on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. The Talkback Hour is your chance to talk back. So let's get to your chance to do that. Preston Paul, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mike. If you're an old geezer, what the heck does that make me?
Let me guess. It makes you somebody that has lived through 35 degrees in their past and can still tell the story today.
Absolutely.
Come on. I'm getting tired of this.
It is, isn't it? We're all babies now, eh? We've all been pampered. The generations, and it's like 10 centimeters. Back in my day, it wasn't 10 centimeters, it was 10 inches coming at you.
Exactly.
Yeah, and out there shoveling on a driveway that had stone on it, like pebbles and everything. So then you had to pick them all off in the spring and throw them back on the driveway again.
Been there. I've done some rock picking along the side of a lane, you betcha.
Yeah. Are you doing your I'll request music tomorrow for your last day?
You know what, Paul? I never thought of that, but what the heck? We should do that, shouldn't we?
We should.
Okay, we will. You want to put one in right now?
Absolutely. YYZ by Rush. Let's wake up the 44 people that are listening.
Attaboy. I might just play the whole song. I love it.
Yeah, and I got you did the other day suggestion for the frontline workers that have to go park a half an hour away.
Yeah.
First of all, that's disgusting. And second of all, I think they should have a little valet parking. The frontline workers who, I bless them every day, they drop their car off, they go into work, somebody takes their car to wherever it has to go, and then they bring the car back nice and warm for them when they're ready to go home.
Not a bad idea, Paul.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I like where you're coming from.
You have a great one, buddy.
Thanks, my friend. You too.
Later.
All right. You know what? Thanks to Paul's idea, since tomorrow's my last day of the week, headed into a long weekend. And you know what else we're going to do? Gosh darn it. Because Paul just gave me the idea. He made his request early. So tomorrow will be our all request Thursday instead of Friday. And it's got to be CanCon, baby. Because he picked a CanCon song. Canadian content with Rush's YYZ. YYZ. because we're in Canada, eh? So tomorrow will be all request, and it will be all Canadian all request. Grant, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. So who's that jackwagon that's doing these mandates of telling people that no more gasoline vehicles?
That would be Justin Trudeau. You want to put him in jackwagon jail, Grant? We can put him in jackwagon jail if you want.
Yeah.
Okay.
It should be up to me. I can't afford electric vehicle. So common sense says you have to be fair to people. Not a lot of people got a huge amount of money. So when he's gone,
he is gone.
Yeah. So that should not even be on the table. So what's Carney doing? Is he picking his ass or?
Whoa, easy now. We don't need anything like that going on. I'm not sure he's gotten around to it yet. I don't know where this is at. I just know that some have suggested that perhaps mandating electric vehicle purchases is the wrong way to go. As Grant alludes to in a rather crude way, let the market figure it out, please and thank you. Yvonne, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mike. Nice to chat with you. It's been a while.
It has been. Nice to hear your voice.
Thanks. So we were up in Port Elgin Monday and Tuesday.
Oh, I love it there.
It was beautiful and breezy. It was hot, but we found some shade. We had some relief from the heat with the lake. And you're right. Here we go. I'm that person. I remember being, a child and laying under the sprinkler because it was 90, and I know that's Fahrenheit, degrees out day after day, and the lawns were brown, but we coped. And I think about all the other countries that are always hot and how they cope. They live a little slower. They take a little bit more of a breath, and maybe that's just what we need to do. And yes, it is. I've been an educator. I know what it's like in a hot school, but there's not a lot that's happening in these last few days. So why don't we just take it a little slower? A few more freezies, a little bit more water. I think we are way tougher, and I think the more we live in air conditioning, the harder it is for us and our bodies to climatize to warmer weather. And I think the other, what made me was thinking is all of these warnings may also be part of this whole litigious society.
Oh, I never thought of that side of it. Yeah.
If we don't warn everybody about the possible heat and somebody passes out at their job or, all the snow and somebody has a car accident, are we becoming more of a litigious society? And we're going to blame the people who didn't tell us about the weather for why we had that accident or why we, passed out in the heat wave. Anyways, just another angle.
Thanks, Yvonne. You too.
Enjoy the heat.
I will. Thank you very much, because I don't enjoy the cold. But that point about coping, and I don't want to be, we're tougher today or we were tougher yesterday than we are today. But as humans, just think of us as creatures, as biological beings. We can endure this. We really can. And I worry that we're not realizing our full potential here in this regard. Talkback continues on the Mike Farwell Show. This is 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. Things are heating up on the phone lines. Must be the weather. It's getting to you or something. Let's get right back to your calls. Mayor Jake, good afternoon.
Mike, how are you now?
I'm well, and you?
Oh, not so bad. I want your opinion on something. Something about bike lanes. And the reason why I bring this up because one of my friends asked me yesterday, and I was like, you know what? It's such a good point, but I don't know how to feel about the point. So he goes, well, in Toronto, these experts said that reducing 2 lanes to 1 will not cause gridlock. Now, if that's the case, then why are we trying to build up Highway 7 between Kitchener and Guelph and have it 2 lanes? Because if they say if 2 lanes if one lane doesn't cause gridlock, then why do we want to add an extra lane?
The main thing they talk about on the expansion of Highway 7 is improved safety. But there's no question, Mayor Jake, that it will also improve the flow of goods between here and Guelph and then wherever you're going beyond Guelph. No question about it.
Now, are these experts being truthful and when they say, 2 lanes down to 1 will not cause gridlock, or are they only saying that because it fits the narrative of we need more bike lanes in the future?
I do believe that they are sincere in the research that they have cited in all, because I've heard this before as well, Mayor Jake, and the idea is that, of course, the more of us that take advantage of the alternative modes of transportation, a nice, safe bike lane makes me more likely to get on a bicycle, etc. That means I'm not in a car. And over time, if there are enough of these bike lanes, we will not be impacted if we are driving a vehicle. But I'm yet to see it play out myself.
And I'm not denying that they're not being truthful or anything, but that's why I wanted to ask your opinion so I can go back to my friend and say, hey, this guy said this, and then go from there. And also I wanted to add another point. In elementary school, I went to a really old public school that didn't have an air conditioning, and we were all fine, and I'm 30 years old, and I'm still alive today. So kids can go back to school.
All right, Mayor Jake, always appreciate the calls and the fact that you are so invested and engaged in your community that you're talking about things like bike lanes with your friends. Love to hear it. The number one thing that my circle of friends has been talking about lately is speed cameras. And wouldn't you know, I got a photo sent to me this morning from one of our regular listeners, Clive, who was in York region, and showed me a speed limit sign for a school zone that said it was in effect Monday to Friday and not in effect July and August. And it had the hours. Hang on, I'll read the thing exactly because I don't want to mislead you. It's enforced, the school zone, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Friday, September through June. Not outside of school hours, not outside of school days. I do not know why we can't do that here. And when it comes to Mayor Jake's question, I want to get your opinion on something. I will always give you my opinion on things. You may not like it, you may not agree with it, but I will always give you my opinion based on what I have learned or what I feel. You get to give your opinion on Talkback, which continues on the Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio. If you would like to participate in Talkback, you are more than welcome to do so. Your invitation is a standing one. 519-570-2545, star 570, and 1-800-570-5715. You call, we answer, and you get to have your say about something that's on your mind today. Paul, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How you doing?
Oh, it's Paul from Preston. You know, Preston Paul called twice already today.
Yeah, well, you know, if he wants to try and lay claim to my name, that's up to him. But, listen,
yes.
Apparently on the news this morning, there seems to be a lot of people looking forward to the winter and, you know, in particular next March, because all they were going on about is what's going to happen on St. Paddy's Day. That seemed to be the big thing on the news, you know. Everybody's in a big panic. Oh, there's going to be another party on St. Paddy's Day. What are we going to do about it? Why? Why are they worried about that?
Well, because it's costing us $1 million a year.
Why does it cost us $1 million a year?
Because we have to enforce it.
Well, here's an idea.
Secure
Don't bother. Just let them do as they please. Let them run wild. You know, go in afterwards, pick up the remains, the bodies, whatever, and just sell them off. You know, they talk about putting in all these bylaws. You know, a bylaw is going to stop some teenage kid from going out and having a party. You know, you can murder somebody in the morning and be out of jail in the afternoon out on bail. What are they going to do? You know, bylaw enforcement. we got $100 fine for you for drinking outside of your house.
Let me ask you. I think I can kind of actually get behind this, Paul. I hear where you're coming from, because why should it be up to us to protect you from your own dumb behavior, right?
Exactly.
Okay, but I know that you're kind of a law and order guy. So what about the other people in that neighborhood where they party who are negatively impacted by it? Because there are people living in homes in the university area too.
Okay, here's a thought. You sit out front with a shotgun, somebody trespasses on your property, you shoot them.
Stop it. Come on.
Why not?
Oh, my God.
Why not?
Well, you're not making your case. I know you are a responsible firearms owner. You're not making your type look good, you people.
Yeah, we put all these laws in place, but people know that laws don't really matter.
Okay, so
because you can break the law, and there's no repercussions for it.
One of the laws.
Why do we waste our time?
One of the laws is you can't shoot people on your front lawn, Paul.
Hey, they're trespassing. Pass a law.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah, they were a threat.
All right. Are you
like? There's no enforcement of any laws whatsoever. It's a complete lack of moral standards in the society today. You don't like a law? Well, that's okay. You don't have to obey it. The sign says no trespassing. You say, well, it's a shortcut. It's for my convenience. So, don't worry about it. No littering. Well, there's no garbage can around, so just throw it out the window. This is what society has become. There's no... You don't have to obey the laws. All you have to do is obey the laws that you agree with. How about this? Do it as if somebody was watching. It's real easy to dump litter out of your car when nobody's watching. Why don't you act the same way when people aren't watching?
I get
you. Do what's right instead of just what's convenient for you.
Paul.
But everybody has this idea the laws don't apply to them. Their laws are for everybody else. I tell you,
Paul, I gotta go soon here. You're killing me.
Okay, I'll make this one final point. The Waterloo Region Separate School Board is just as bad because they receive a court order, they look at it and they say, "Well, we don't like it, so we're not going to obey it."
What court order did they receive?
No, I won't go into the details on it, but they just said, it's a court order issued by a court here in Ontario, signed by a judge, everything else. And the Catholic School Board says, no, we don't answer to the courts.
Hang on. You're going to have to give me more information. You send me an email with this one, okay? Because that one, now you can't do that, Paul. You know better.
Listen, I handed these court orders over to the school board. I handed it to Doug Ford. Doug Ford handed it to Brian Riddell. Brian Riddell handed it to the former head of the trustees board.
All right.
And they turned around and they said, nah, it doesn't matter. Our lawyer says we don't have to obey these laws.
I got you. I know.
So if the Catholic Church doesn't have to obey the laws, why does anybody else?
I got you, Paul. Thank you. I hope. Wow. See, I often feel bad because Paul never gets to finish because. And sometimes I just don't have, and I didn't have time. I got other people waiting, and now I'm wasting more time. Wow. But I hope Paul feels better. I hope Paul feels better after all of that. I'm glad he brought up next March because this is an important thing for me to share with you. Next March, as you may know, you may recall, we're starting that new way of collecting garbage in the region where those bins, we're all going to have new bins that will be picked up by machinery instead of by people. And you have to choose the size of your bin like next month. So don't miss your opportunity because if you miss your opportunity to pick the size of the bin, you're just going to get the big ding-dang bin. And if you don't want the big ding-dang bin, then you're going to have to make sure that the region knows that you want the smaller of the two bins that you'll roll to the edge of your driveway for pickup by the truck, not by the person. So just remember that. It starts next March, but by next month, you have to make sure the region knows which bin you want. Otherwise, you're just getting the big one. I don't know where the hell we're going to put the big bins on our little properties, but oh boy, is all I can say. All right, Jason, good afternoon.
Mike, that was a lot of information packed into about 2 minutes from Paul. Holy moly.
I was 5 minutes from Paul, and it was a lot, yes.
Anyways, I just want to give you a shout out. Thanks for writing that editorial the other day about the province needing to do their job and to step up when it comes to Bill 97 and protecting our tenants across the city. We've established at council that, we understand it's not our role, but for me, somebody has to do it at this point in time, because we can't just use the argument. I don't think we can use the argument, well, it's their job, not mine. I'm not going to do it, because if you don't, more and more people are going to be failed by the system. I'm trying to schedule an appointment or a meeting with my MPP and Acorn to discuss, the lack of initiative to push the rest of Bill 97. I'm halfway there, but if our local MPPs are listening, meet with your constituents, meet with your other levels of elected officials, meet with advocates, because they truly know what's going on the ground, other than us who sit and make policies and bylaws. But without the information they provide to us, we have no idea what's happening out there.
How can it be hard to get that meeting, Jason?
I'll be politically correct.
Why though? This is where I'm getting frustrated, Jason.
Okay, so when I first messaged my MPP, their assistant had said, "Well, no, Bill 97 has been enacted," and I said, "Well, no, not all of it has been enacted." And then they asked me, "Well, what parts haven't been enacted?" And I'm kind of surprised they don't know what parts haven't been enacted. And so I did, obviously I reached out to Acorn and did a little research, and I sent them that information. And that was a few days ago. So I will touch base with them next week, because I'm sure they're busy right now gearing up for Canada Day celebrations. But I will keep you posted on whether or not I'm able to secure one of those meetings with our elected provincial official.
I look forward to it. Thank you, Jason.
Have a great day, Mike.
You too, sir. You too. Jason's a councillor in Kitchener. I get it. This is what my editorial that appeared in the paper today said, and I've said on this show. Our municipal councils and the people on them, the councillors themselves, care. They are accessible to you. They are responsive to you, but they are doing the province's work here. And specifically, and you heard Jason say, and I get it, because this is the way the political games are played. You have to be politically correct, because if you get on the wrong side of your local MPP, well, you might not get funding for the next initiative that you want funding for, and so on and so on. And I'm tired of it. I honestly am exhausted by it. If this is why I will never, ever run for politics. Because I'll tell you what, you can be damn sure if I was in a councillor's chair, I've had it now, and I'm naming and shaming. So I know that Jason's representative, based on the ward he represents in Kitchener, is the guy in Kitchener-Conestoga. Jess Dixon is in Kitchener, South Hespeler. Brian Riddell is in Cambridge. These people, Brian and Jess and the guy in Kitchener-Conestoga, need to be named. And they need to be held accountable for doing their jobs or not doing their jobs. And you, as a voter in this community, need to know that too. You keep going to your municipal council because those people care. They show you what they respond to you and back it up with action. And the people whose job it is to be helping you if you're a tenant are not doing their jobs. And we have to start naming names. It's Talkback, Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio and Rogers TV. I got down off my soapbox so I could get right back to the phones. Hear more from you. Kyle, good afternoon.
I love all this weather talk. When I was a kid, we used to walk to school, now not uphill and downhill like my grandparents did, but between the temperatures of 42 to 46 degrees Celsius when I was living in Oklahoma, and that's hot. But you know what? We made it. We made it through. You know how we made it? We went to the pool. Somebody always had a pool, or you went to the lake. You know, your parents would take you to the lake. You know, our air conditioner in our school probably broke down 90% of the time, didn't really work. And our school system started in August and ended in May. So you got to think, like, that's down there, that's pretty hot. And when I came up here, I thought to myself, you know, what the heck is going on? Like, why are people complaining and stuff? Like, it's not as hot as it is down there, but it is the humidity that kind of kills you up here. But no, I don't know. I think I think that the school system and the air conditioners, for how short of a time you're really in school, do you really need air conditioning? Probably not, but I'm a little bit more old school, but that's just my thoughts on it, Mike. But 42 to 46 is warm. Like that's you're not even going outside barefoot because you just burn your feet. So, but and the tornadoes too, right? Like I'll take a snowstorm over a tornado any day.
I guess you would.
Right. So, but anyways, that's all I got to say, Mike. Thanks a lot, my friend.
All right, Kyle, appreciate it. It's true. This heat wave comes right in the final week of school. Kids will be off for the summer pretty soon. Then at home, complaining about no air conditioning. Mike, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. You said something just a few minutes ago that is a first to my ears, that you can choose the size of bin you want at the end of the driveway. There's a deadline.
That is correct.
How are we supposed to even know about that? And is there information? Like, how do you actually choose?
Yes, Mike, it's a great question, and I wish I could have given you all of the information, but I know this because the region put out a little video about it, and they said the link to the choice was in the video, but the link wasn't there. So I'm going to find it, but I promise you that next month, in July, so next week, sometime in the next month, we have to choose which size bin we want. Otherwise, we're getting the big bin no matter what. So I'm going to get on this and make sure I can point you in the right direction. But the region's website's probably as good a start as any.
That's the beauty of local radio. I think you just nail it again. I love your show. Thanks.
Thanks, Mike. I really appreciate that. We're here. When I came across it, I thought, boy, because I'm thinking for myself. Right? I live in the same town you do, and I want to make sure I get the correct size bin. So I think regionofwaterloo.ca is a good starting point, but I'm going to try to do some of the legwork for you and get you that exact spot. But I promise you it's correct that next month in July, we're going to have to make our choice for which size bin we want when this change happens next March. So if you don't want the biggest one, you got to let them know that you want the smaller sized bin. Jerry, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mike. How are you?
Hey, long time no see, my friend. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, doing okay.
Good.
I'm glad the temperature's been turned down a little bit on the thermostat.
Well, you were out golfing with that KW Accessibility Tournament on Monday, and that is a scorcher of a day to be on the course.
The only thing I think that saved us was the wind that day.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's actually what I was calling about is I heard you yesterday morning. Very, very well said. I guess that's why you're in that chair in front of the microphone and not us. But just to thank you for coming out and, donating your time. And you've got an incredibly busy schedule. I don't know how you keep that organized as well as you do. And I'm actually kind of glad that Mother Nature postponed our helicopter drop. You got to see it.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I loved seeing that. Yeah.
Yeah, something about watching 1,000 golf balls get dropped out of a helicopter for your opportunity to win $10,000.
And the guy that won had just bought his golf ball that day. I mean, be the last minute Larry. Why not?
I guess.
Yeah.
Take it all.
That's right.
But also, I was thinking after, and, you refer to her as your beloved. I would see your better half is, a shout out and a thank you to her because, she is so graciously and selflessly sharing you with the rest of us, the community, so you can go out, do these events and the Farwell for Hire program, and even the amount of travel you do to bring us the Kitchen Rangers on the radio. So just a shout out and a thank you to your beloved for so graciously sharing you with the rest of us.
Well, I think she doesn't really like me that much anyway, Jared. Don't worry about it. I'm difficult to deal with.
Well, I guess we get you in short stints.
There you go. Exactly. You get me for a dinner. She gets me every day. But thank you for that. It was my pleasure to be there on Monday. I appreciate you, man.
Okay, and thank you. And just for the record, that scorecard never touched my finger.
Okay. Best team winner. I got it. Take care, Jerry.
Thanks.
Take care. I should say, I think maybe not bought the day of the golf ball drop, but he only bought one ball. You could buy as many balls as you wanted to spend money on for this great golf ball drop. The helicopter comes, drops them on the course, and closest to the pin wins. One ball. That's all you need to do. Spent $20, won $10,000. Back with more Talkback. Mike Farwell Show, 570 News Radio, Rogers TV. Right back to the phones. Rudy, we're running out of time, but you get the last word.
Okay, the last word. Good to talk to you, Mikey.
talking about when he went to school, the air conditioning wasn't that great. I was thinking, what?
Rudy, breaks my heart. You're breaking up. It breaks my heart when you're breaking up. Something about the school and the air conditioning not working, and I'm guessing Rudy's next comment was, what air conditioning? When I was in school, anyway, trust me. Trust me on this one. I'm not a doctor, okay, but I'm very confident in this opinion. You're okay. You're stronger than you think. I promise you are. We can deal with this, just like we can deal with the rotten stuff when it comes in that other season that I really don't like. An update from the 570 News Center. Now you know with Rob Snow until 3. My name's Mike Farwell. Back tomorrow at 9. Bye for now.